everybody. Good afternoon. So very excited to be here today to do a lunchtime sharing on no-code automation, how it's growing businesses and changing the world as part of the Smart Nation Together series. And without further ado, I would like to first introduce the Workato team that's here today. So my name is Gladys and I manage business development and programs here at Workato. And with me, I have my colleague Randy Handiato, who's in our post-sales team as an automation consultant. And we also have you today, the audience with us. So thanks very much for joining us. So without further ado, let me share the 4 areas that we'll cover today. We'll start off with key developments in business and why no-code automation is the future. We'll also share some industry use cases in no-code automation. After which, we'll do a product demonstration on how no-code automation works. We'll also share some resources that you can check out to start and further your automation journey. Okay, and before we dive right in, I thought I'll give a very short introduction and overview of Workato, since this may be the first time that all of you are hearing about us. So Workato was founded in 2013, and our mission really is to help companies and organizations across the world integrate and automate workflows in a fast, seamless, and secure manner. We are headquartered in Silicon Valley, that's in the United States, with over 750 staff globally. And about 1/3 of our staff strength is in Asia Pacific and Japan, as this region is a very important growth opportunity and priority for us. Our solutions are widely recognized in the industry, and we are consistently named as a leader in integration-led automation by Forrester and Gartner. And today we have over 11,000 customers worldwide. So without further ado, now we'll start off with an overview of key developments in business and why no-code automation is the future. So I would like to start by highlighting this very interesting report by LinkedIn back in 2019, right, on the future of skills. So LinkedIn did a survey of rising skills across Asia Pacific in 2019. And for Singapore, which is where we are all at now, workflow automation came up as the top 3 rising skills in Singapore. In fact, it's actually ranked like the most highly in demand skill. And this was before COVID-19, which shows that workflow automation was already looking rosy and definitely not a new phenomenon. And here we can also see that the demand for workflow automation skills is 10 times higher than other skills, making it a very useful skill to learn. The benefits of automation are also reinforced in the recent Skills Demand for the Future Economy report, which Skills Future Singapore published last month, back in December 2021. And in this report, digital skills were highlighted as priority skills. And in these digital skills, automation application came out as one of the top skills. And here we can see that automation is definitely one of the key skills of the future. And now I would like to share some common reasons why companies and organizations are looking at workflow automations and why you should actually pay attention to it. I won't go into detail, but here we can see that organizations are using workflow automations to drive many business growth, from improving efficiency to increasing speed and to unlocking savings. And cloud automation, which do not require companies to implement bulky infrastructure and on-premise systems, have shown to be effective in helping companies drive profit. And today we are seeing that automation is now a need instead of a nice to have. We see companies and organizations automating business functions across key business lines, from customer experience to human resource, like enhancing employee experience and hybrid working. And one interesting trend we see today is that automation is now a team sport, instead of being tagged to just one specific department or function. And in our recent Work Automation Index, we found that COVID-19 has actually driven more departments on the automation bandwagon. 33% of companies were found to actually automate workflows in over 5 departments, up from 15% before COVID-19. And conversely, if we look at only one department, companies with only one department automating their processes, we see that has also fallen significantly from 38% pre-pandemic to 14% before COVID. And with automation being a team sport today, it has expanded beyond IT and engineering. So when we surveyed companies earlier this year for the Work Automation Index, we found that over 60% of automations are actually outside IT and engineering in functions like customer support, finance and accounting, and sales and marketing. So here we see that business functions actually want to own their own automations instead of relying on IT and engineering. And when we surveyed companies, we found that these were the top 10 automated processes. The most common ones are actually order to cash, which is a finance automation. The second would be data pipeline and reverse ETL, as well as IT operations, which fall under IT. But interestingly, we also see that there are also other business processes like sales operations, employee onboarding and offboarding, as well as customer account management, right, which also rank very highly in the top 10 automated processes across organizations. So here we can see that automated processes cut across various functions, highlighting the pervasive nature of automation. And with business functions wanting to own their own automations, low-code and no-code tools are rising in popularity. On the left, we can see an article from Forbes talking about how low-code, no-code automation tools make it very easy for companies to empower more people with the skills to design, build, and test their own automations. We also have a report from KPMG on the right on how low-code is the future of application development and automation. And while the low-code, no-code movement is not without complexities, it can help teams get to market faster, and they also make it much easier for users to use as well. And as we talk about automation, we also want to highlight a very important point, which is that workflow automation cannot happen without integration. So here, let me explain these two terms a bit for everybody. So automation is all about creating processes where data is entered once, like you just enter data once into a software, into a system or tool, and nobody needs to touch it again. Whereas integration is about the handling of this data from one piece of software or systems to another. And with companies using so many application systems and databases today, so here we see that your company may be using collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams, Workplace, or Slack. And if you were to move on to like business-specific functions, HR teams could be using Workday or SuccessFactors, your sales and marketing team could be using Salesforce, and your IT teams could be using some on-premise applications like Oracle, SAP, as well as IBM. And with companies using so many of these applications, systems, and databases today, we need to first integrate and connect these tools before even talking about building workflow automations. And what we found is that companies and organizations want to do all that automation and integration in a very fast, in a very simple, and in a very cohesive way on just one platform. And which is why integration-led automation is the way forward for many companies as they work to bring their data, applications, and processes together. And the benefits of integration-led automation is that it expands possibilities for organizations. So here I want to show everybody this picture depicting the spectrum of automation. On one end, on the left, you have automating tasks, which tools like RPA, robotic process automation, are perfect for if you just want to copy data between two forms and reduce manual work. But if you want to do more, right, like automating across business applications, or even automate end-to-end processes, or automate business decisions with rules-driven decisioning, then integration and connectivity will be important. So this brings me to the next part of today's sharing, where I'll share some use cases of how organizations are driving business growth with integration-led automation. And yes, it's all low-code and no-code. And today, we see that many companies in Singapore and Asia have jumped on this integration-led low-code, no-code automation bandwagon. It's not just large enterprises like Changi Airport Group or Certis or Cycle and Carriage, but also government-linked corporations like PSA, our Port of Singapore Authority, SMRT, and Sembcorp, and also growing tech companies like Grab, Gojek, Coupang, and Tokopedia. And in these companies, we see automation use cases across diverse business functions, right? From finance to HR to IT and sales, covering functions like order to cash, covering functions like procure to pay, even all the way to like onboarding, offboarding, employee referrals. And for IT, we see very common use cases in help desk management, incident management, and security ops. So now I'd like to share two companies and their use cases with everyone. And the first company is Grab, which is using integration-led automation to enhance employee experience and IT work. Well, we all know that Grab is a growing technology company. And as Grab hires more employees, it realizes that onboarding processes are manual, time-intensive, and expensive, making it very hard to scale. So Grab turned to automate and integrate functions in employee onboarding and IT. And specifically, Grab transformed Slack, which they were using for internal communications, into what they call a chat operations hub. And today, all IT and HR operations like request management, access provisioning, and system installations can be carried out on Slack, making it very seamless and effortless for Grab employees. And all that has also translated to major business benefits because in just a few months of automating their workflows, Grab has saved over 3,000 man hours of work across the organization. And HR and IT teams can also build these integrations in 1/10 of the time it takes to code. The second company that we'd like to share today is Coupang. I'm not sure if everybody has heard of Coupang, but they are a growing e-commerce company in Asia that's headquartered in South Korea. And Coupang use case is a bit different from Grab, where they leverage integration-led automation to scale and enhance customer service. And before that, they were just manually processing and translating over 4,000 customer service tickets daily, which was just not scalable. And with automation, they can now translate these tickets in bulk, route them to the respective teams, and keep customers updated on their inquiries and purchases. And this has created business benefits for Coupang, from achieving faster ticket routing, resolution, as well as go live times for their products. Okay, so hope everyone got a good overview of workflow automations and how companies can leverage it for business growth. And now I'll pass on the time to my colleague Randy, who will give you a product demonstration on how you can create your own no-code automation to advance business growth. Okay, Randy, over to you.
Yep, thanks, Gladys. So let me just share my screen to you guys. All right, hold on for a moment. Okay, so I would like to demo you guys like how it looks like to use Workato to design your automation and also to create your own workflow, right? And how to implement your use cases. So for today's demo, I will showcase to you guys how to integrate a bot, a Slack bot, to another applications that you are interested with, right? Let me just quickly show you guys. So if you see here, currently, what I'm showing you guys at the right side is actually a Slack application, right? So Slack is actually a messaging platform similar to a Microsoft Teams or Workplace, right? And typically people would use this platform to communicate with each other within their own organization, right? So it can be used for a discussion, sharing of information, or for even for a quick call, right? So this is actually quite a powerful tools to actually share information and also like for discussion and productivity, right? So if you see here, I actually have an assistant bot, right? And it actually contains a lot of features in here, which actually can be used for a lot of departments, right? And practically it's across the entire departments in your company in general, right? So for example, if you see here, I have actually an IT department feature where an employee can actually request equipment provisioning. So for example, let's say the employee wants to apply for a new keyboard or for a new mouse, they can actually just click this simple button, and then there will be some sort of interaction depending on the applications that you're connected to, and you can just interact with it quite fluently, right? So you do not need to go all the way to, for example, like ServiceNow, and then you have to click apply for equipment provisioning, so on and so forth. So everything can be done through this one single platform, right? And another use case that I would like to share, and the most common one would be for the HR department, where the staff might want to apply for PTO, which is basically a leave application, right? So again, this one can be connected to a lot of application. For example, this human resource use case, you can actually connect to Workday, where basically we can extract certain information of the employee, for example, the number of leave available for the person, and then depends on the level of interaction that you would like to do, you can actually have this kind of input for the user to key in, right? So that they can easily apply for their leave accordingly, right? So where does the automation comes in play, right? So you imagine once you actually fill in all these fields, right, and you submit, you want to send this notification to your manager, for example, right? And everything is pretty much automated. So once you click on this submit button, what you can see is that depending on the design that you want to have, it can be actually sent directly to your manager, for example, or it can be sent to a channel. In this case, channel means it's some sort of a group that is in Slack, right? So if you see here, this contains the list of people that apply for the leave on a particular day. And then the manager can simply approve or reject the application, right? So there are a lot of other use cases that might be useful, right, to increase your productivity. For example, maybe for the finance team, they want to request to get a report generation, or they want to have a purchase requisition. They can do that from Slack bot itself. Or for example, in general, you would like to learn more about your fellow colleagues. For example, maybe you can have interaction to Workday, where you can search for employee, and then maybe you can get some information, for example, their contact number, so on and so forth, right? So for today's demo, right, I would like to show you guys how to actually create integration to between Jira and Slackbot, right? Jira is basically issue tracking platform that people use to keep track of their tasks, issues, or it can also be used as a work management tools. So this is quite a general application that people use as well. I believe a lot of companies using this to keep track of their issues, right? And from on the left screen here, right, this is actually Workato's platform. It's actually a web application. So when you want to use Workato to actually start your design or what we call as a recipe, right, you do not need to install anything. You just simply go to the URL and log into your account, and you're good to go, right? So if you see here, we got a lot of, the UI is very simple. And if you can see here, I actually currently have active recipes or automation, right? And these actually, each of these, right, correspond to whatever you're seeing on the right side here, right? So before I go further, right, I would like to show you guys like how many connections are available in Workato, right? Because when you talk about integration, you do not want to have the difficulties in maintaining the connection to the applications that you want to interact with, right? So as of now, for Workato, we have hundreds of applications that is ready out of the box for you to just click and then you just use it, right? So it's very simple. And the way you want to connect to each of these applications, right, will be depending on the application that you want to connect to. So for example, let's say you want to connect to Gmail, for instance, right? In this case, Gmail's application is very straightforward when you want to connect to the application. So let me just show you how it looks like. Oh, sorry. This one. So let's say I want to connect to my Gmail account, right? I just simply click on this icon, and then I just simply click on this connect, right? So before I start, maybe I select the connection, my location. I'll just put it here, and I just click connect. It's very simple, right? There's nothing difficult about this. There's a pop-up windows here, and then you just select your account, and then you're good to go, right? So again, this depends on the applications that you want to connect to. Some of the application might require more information, but it's very well guided when it comes to Workato, right? So maybe I just show you how it looks like if you want to create a connection to Jira, for example, right? So you just simply find Jira, and then you will see all these fields, right? Basically, these are all the necessary fields that you need to actually establish a connection, right? And it's very well guided. There are a lot of hints and tips for you where to get this information, and it's pretty much like copy paste, right? And there is no single coding required in here at all, right? It's very simple, okay? So let me just, for the sake of time, I have already created a few connections that I would use for my demo today, right? So for this demo today, I would use two connections, basically. One is the Jira connection and another one is connection to my Slack, right? So let's get back to the right side of my screen here. Let me just showcase how it looks like. So in here, I will have this Jira, right, application, right? This is actually my own Jira. And you will see that I have three things in here, the to-do list, in progress, and done list, right? And each of these actually created from my Slack. So you do not need to go to your Jira application and then you need to, like create issue and type things in here. You can just simply go to your Slack channel in here at the right side, and then you can just basically create a task, right? So let me just show you. If let's say I were to click on this Jira task button, right? I will click here. Then I will, you will see this kind of interaction. Again, the complexity will be depends on what kind of things that you want to show to the user, right? Sometimes there are certain things that the users are not required to fill in. So you can design it as per your own use case, right? So for example, in my case, in my test summary field, I will just simply click test 01, and then the description, I will just say description, right? And then I will just simply click submit. So once you click submit, you will see that there is a response in here as well at the demo chat here, and telling you that, hey, there's a task created for you. And if you were to click on this link, right, actually it will directly right to your Google here, your Jira here. So let me just refresh. Okay, there you go. So you can see the test is in here already. So what we are doing here is that we pretty much try to emulate whatever that you do in here to the Slack channel itself. And you might think that, oh, how difficult can this be, right? It must be very complex. Actually, the answer is no. It's very simple. So let me just show you quickly how does it look like, right? In terms of the flow, right? So for example, this home tab here, this is actually, you can treat it like your main page, right? How complex is your main page? How does it look like, right? So if I were to click on this home tab, the automation, the design wise, it simply just contains two actions, basically. It's a drag and drop thing. It contains a trigger. Basically, this is it's like a conditional, right? Trigger means that it will wait for a certain events to happen. And when it reaches that particular parameter, it will kickstart your business process, which is whatever that is under this action flow here, right? So for example, this home button, it only contains two actions. And the way you actually design this is very simple. There's not a lot of code at all. If you see here, right, this is actually very well guided. If you click on here, there's just a lot of fields for you to fill in, right? And all these things actually correspond to the button you see here or to the text you are seeing here and how the button behaves, right? So let's say for today's demo, right, we want to add a new feature to your bot. For example, I want to have a button for me to actually list down all the existing tasks or issues that I have in Jira, right? So how do I design that, right? So let me just show you quickly. I will go back to my main page first in here, right? I will click this create recipe, basically, and I will be directed to this page where this is basically just a design page, right? So the title here, probably I would like to say list Jira tasks, right? And then I will select the trigger. For now, I will select a run on schedule just to show you guys how it looks like first. So this is the editor page, basically, right? So I will decide, you can decide what kind of interaction that you want to do. So in this case, my trigger, I would like to have a bot trigger. So this is my Slack bot trigger, right? I will click on here. And then in here, I will select a new command. So if you see here, right, these are all like out of the box created for you. You just simply choose whatever actions that you would like to use to interact, right? So for this demo, I will choose a select new command, and I will select the connections that I have created previously, which is my bot demo, right? I click here, and then you will see that they will show you all these fields for you to fill in, right? So for now, basically this is like the triggering point or the keyword. What it means is that if let's say I type something in here, right, it will wait for a certain keyword and then it will kickstart this particular automation, right? So for this demo, I will choose, for example, Jira. The action will be a list, And then my action will be, let's say, get list, like so, right? And then under here parameter, basically this is like the interaction that you want the user to play with, right? So for now, maybe I just need the user to select what kind of list that they want to see, right? The status of the Jira. So if we were to see this Jira platform here, there are 3 statuses, right? So I will use these statuses as my interaction with the user. So I will add a command input, right? In here, I will select a status. And this is where you actually control what kind of interaction that you want the user to have. So for example, I want to restrict them and I just want them to simply have a select options only, right? So once you click on this select, there are quite a lot of fields coming up in here. So this is where you configure all the things that you want to do. So for example, in here, my options will be the status of the Jira, right? So this is a to do. The second one is in progress. And the next one is done. So that's it. The trigger is done. So the command is done here, right? So again, there's no code in here happening at all, right? So the next thing is what happened next then if let's say I trigger this particular command, right? So the next thing is that you want to access your Jira applications, right? So you just simply click action in this app. You just select the Jira applications, right? And then you see here, there's a lot of actions that are available for you. Again, this will be depends on the applications that you interact with. Each of applications might have a different actions available, right? So for today's demo, I will choose search issues by JQL. Basically, you can actually do further filtering in the Jira itself. So for my case, what I show you is that I will have this particular filter, right? I want to filter my list of to do based on the projects and based on the reporter name, right? So for now, for example, this will be filtered by a project, Randy Dev, and also by the reporter, which is myself, right? And then the status will be depends on what the user input. So if you notice here, right, the left side, there's this recipe data pop up, right? This is actually contains data pills. So these are auto-generated by Workato, right? It depends on the output of the applications that you are playing with, and it will auto-generate for you. So you can actually use these data pills to interact with your automation, right? So if you remember just now, I have configured a parameter called status. It's actually available in here. So if I were to click here, right, and you will see that there's this data pills in here. So how it works is that when I start the recipe later on, these data pills will be replaced by the underlying value, which is depends on the user's selection, right? So after I've done this, this is pretty much complete already actually, because I will actually do a search and then the Jira will workboard, right? So you just simply, right, and then you just click a workboard again, and then again there's a list of available actions that you can use. So for now, I would just simply do a post message, for example, right? And then here you can select who do you want to send this to, right? So for today's demo, I will just send it back to me myself. This is actually underlying value of your user ID, right, in Slack. I have this already ready, but again, if let's say you are familiar with the application that you interact with, you can just simply follow the tips here, and then you can pretty much get the information out. Okay. So what I would like to do is that I want to send my list of to-dos, right? So if I were to scroll the way down, you can see this optional field as well. Basically, it contains all the things that is hidden, and I just want to show this multiple attachment section here so that I can send multiple messages at one time, right? So if you notice, all these interaction are pretty much drag and drop and click. So there's not a lot of coding with C++ or whatsoever, right? So it's very straightforward. So in here again, attachment source list, I will select at the left side here the issues, which is actually the output from my previous action, right? And then from there, it depends on what kind of things that you want to show to the user. So for me, for example, let's say I want to show them the summary. So if I go to search summary, there's this summary here, and then I will add the key, for example, so that the user can easily see what they are looking at. Right. And then maybe I would like to have some sort of title link, right? I want the user to easily navigate to the Jira if let's say they want to see more details about it, right? So I have basically the hyperlinks in there, right? And then here you can show the description, right? And then maybe my description, I want to show them the description of the Jira, which is, I believe, this one, right? Yep. So this is done. So basically, this is the interaction part, like this one on the right side here. So how can I trigger this here, right? So once you finish this one, you can just exit, right? And then you start the recipe first. And then let's add this feature to the home tab here, right? So I just go back to the home tab. I edit my recipe. I click on this action, the one that I created previously. And then I just basically scroll down here. There's this add action to block, right? You just click add action, a new button. The title will be, let's say, list Jira tasks, right? And then there'll be a command in here. So this is basically the command, right? So I believe mine is Jira get list, right? And what else that you want to do? Button style, for example, I want to change the color. Maybe I want to make it green, for example, right? Right, so this is done. I have added the button. Let's just start this again, right? Once this is started, if you were to see at the right side here, if I don't go back to my home, you'll see that there's this button added here now, right? So it's loaded. So if I were to click this, right, this is the interaction that you have. And this is the list that I created just now. And if I were to click the to-do and I submit, voila, you'll see that these are the things, the to-do, the list of the issues of the to-do status, right? So this will be the same as the one that you see in here, right? So there you go. It's very easy. Within 10 minutes, we can actually add a new feature here. And this is very helpful for your productivity, right? And don't worry, for those people that not familiar with, all the applications, things like that, right? Workato also have a community library. Basically, this is a community where people can share their use cases, can share their design or automation, and then you can use it for your own purpose, right? And in here, as you can see, we got a lot of applications ready for you to use. And even if, let's say, there is things that you cannot find, right, you can even customize your own connection, which is using this HTTP. Okay. I hope you find this demo useful, and that is the end of my session. I'll pass back my time back to Gladys.
Okay, thanks, Randy, for the product demonstration, and hope everybody enjoyed it. I think I've been seeing quite a number of questions coming on the chat, so I think this will be a very good time for Randy and I to answer some of these questions live. Yeah, shall we do that? Randy, will you be okay with that?
Yep, sure.
Okay, so there are quite a number of questions on the differences between a platform like Workato as well as RP. I think that's a very great question, and that's a question that that we have gotten a lot as well. So one thing that Workato does very different from RPA would actually be that RPA in its fundamentals is actually a very user interface kind of based operations. So if, say, for instance, you want to automate very kind of manual tasks, right? Like basically copying data from point A to point B, say for instance, scraping data from a PDF form and then uploading it into into a system, then I would say that RPA is perfect for that, and which Workato doesn't cover. So RPA is very good at user-based, like user interface-based like automation, and it's also very good for kind of task-based like automations. But if you want to go further, right, like if you want to create automations across different systems, and if you actually want to make different systems, like maybe a HR system like Workday, as well as a finance system like Salesforce or Xero, like talk to one another, and you want to create that integration between different systems, then first and foremost, even before building that automation, you have to build the integration, right? And that's where something like Workato covers, which RPA does not cover. Yeah, does that answer the questions on the differences between Workato and RPA? Okay, there are also some other questions. Thanks, Sean, for your question on. Okay, so I'll read Sean's questions out, which is that in most organizations that Workato works with, who are the actual teams using like Workato? That's a very great question. It really depends on a case-by-case basis. We have had IT teams use Workato to build the automation tools, and we also have actual end users using Workato to build their own tools as well. So it's not just limited to IT teams that build automations with Workato, but we do work very closely with direct business lines like sales, marketing, as well as finance to build some of these automations. Okay, and we have a question from Annabelle as well, which is, does Workato have an individual pricing plan, personal use and not business? Well, the question is unfortunately no, because Workato currently, we are a B2B platform, so we serve businesses and organizations. So we don't have an individual pricing plan as of now. Yeah, okay, and there's a question from Alan, which is how much is the subscription fee? That's a very great question as well. And so as Workato works very closely with organizations and enterprises, it really depends on the business needs, the use cases, as well as business requirements. So our packages are also very tailored to that, and also it also is very tailored to the number of like functions and automations that the business and organization actually wants to create. So if you're keen to find out more, I mean, please feel free to contact us or talk to us. Okay, there's also a question from Clement on do we need to install software on desktop prior, or is it fully cloud-based? That's a very great question as well. So Workato is fully cloud-based, meaning that you actually don't need to download it. You don't need to install any software to use Workato. You can just go to our website, www.workato.com, sign in, and you actually be able to use the Workato platform. Okay, I'm seeing more questions as well. Okay, there's a question from Ashari on whether training will be provided. Yes, we do. We do training as well. Later, I'll be sharing some resources in which we actually have these resources to help people get trained and certified in automation. And for companies and organizations that we work closely with, we do actually provide that training support to users as well. And we also work very closely with partners to provide some of these training solutions. Okay, there's a question from Desmond on, can I create a single workflow for a region but has sub workflows triggered based on location of the user? Okay, Randy, would you like to take that question?
Hold on, Gladys. Which one was it? Sorry, I was answering other people's answers as well.
Okay. Yeah, there's a question from
Desmond's questions, right? Region.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends, Desmond, because the complexity of your use case might affect the design of the recipe, right? I would say yes, it's possible, but we need to further check on how complex is your use case. We do have some use cases that have something to do with regional, for example, like a time zone, right? We have a complex and advanced method of checking time zone or region based on the applications that they are connected to. Yeah. So to put it simply, it depends on your use case, right, and on the applications that you're connected to. I hope that answers your questions.
Okay, thanks, Randy. Would you want to add on to the question on a comment from an attendee on, I noticed there's not many Workato YouTube videos when I research for help. Is there a place where I can Google for help and get step-by-step guide?
Yeah, we have a Workato documentation URL, right? And it's publicly available. You can always visit that documentation page, and we constantly update it. And don't worry about it. If there's anything that you're missing, you can always check with our support team. So it means that if, let's say, you have a Workato account ready for you, right? There's actually a support live channel that is always available 24 hours, and we are very, very responsive. Our turnaround time will be about 5 minutes. Someone will be always there to help you with anything that you need, right? And for documentation, again, we always update it. So if, let's say, there's anything new or there's anything that you feel like missing, you can always feedback to us and we will update it accordingly.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Randy. Could you also take the question on how do we know our information is safely secured at the platform? What cybersecurity and encryption and cloud storage protocol are in place?
Okay, for security part, right? I can't go to the details because there's just a lot of things, right? But basically, we have a list of certification that we take for Workato, right? We do penetration testing as well for security, and we have a SOC2 Type 2 audited security license, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, you can always check in our Workato URL website. I can post you the link and you can take a look at it. There's quite a lot of things there regarding security and legals as well. And you can just click on any of the links to learn more about it, right?
Yeah, okay. And I see a question by Janice actually on, may I know whether Workato is a subscription, it's actually user subscription kind of base platform or what? Yep. Well, if you are part of an organization or company and your organization and company wants to use Workato, then it will actually be a user subscription base, meaning that if you are part of maybe say the sales team and the sales team wants to create an automation with Workato, you can register for an individual account that's also tagged to your company. Okay, there's a question from Desmond, which is, can Workato be used for IT inventory management and also streamline workflow for checking in and checking out physical assets? Yes, it can be used for IT inventory management. And with regards to checking in and checking out physical assets, Randy, do you think that's possible?
Actually, yes. We actually have a use case similar to that, actually. So what the idea is that as long as you have the API endpoint and there's connections basically, right? You can just interact with Workato, right? Workato also, you can also create an API endpoint using Workato as well, actually. So in terms of interactions, like generally, as long as you have API endpoint, as long as we can connect to it, you're good to go. So for example, like check in and check out, right? I remember there's one use case where it's about construction worker where they have to register their temperature, for example, right? And then all this information will be integrated to their own data warehouse system. So this means that they are interacting with their own devices. And these particular devices, definitely their own in-house team must create an API for that. So to your questions, yes, it can.
Okay, thanks, Desmond, for the question. I also see another question on whether Workato has an in-house version instead of a cloud-based version? I suppose you are referring to probably an on-premise version. Well, the answer to that is actually no. Workato is fully cloud-based because we are a software as a service, and like many software as a service platforms like Workday, HubSpot, NetSuite, we are actually entirely cloud-based, and we believe that that also makes us easier to use because you actually don't need to download any software. You don't need to install it in your system. You can just log into a web URL and start using the platform and connect it with your systems and tools, even on-premise systems as well, not just kind of cloud-based systems. Okay. Okay, I see a question from, okay, there's a question on, is this automation app good for tasks that needs looping around back and forth? Well, yes, the answer is yes. We do have trigger functions on the Workato platform that allows you to automate like tasks that require loops. Yeah. Randy, would you want to add on to this question? From today's session. So if you forget everything, just remember this 4 points which we'll share. And afterwards, we'll also share some resources on how you can start your automation journey. So I think just a summary of today's session, we just want to share 4 points. First, workflow automation is really all about driving business growth so that organizations and teams can focus on higher value activities. And second, we are seeing that automation is now a team sport where it's not just like one department that's actually doing automations, but it actually goes beyond IT and engineering to business users. And third is that integration is key in automation for many corporate environments because automating workflows often require connectivity across multiple applications and systems. And last but not least is also the growing popularity of low-code, no-code automation with business users jumping on the automation bandwagon. And today's sharing is really just the tip of the iceberg. So if you are keen to find out more about no-code automation and how it can help your work, and if you have any questions on IT, on security, on maybe connectivity with government systems, or maybe you just want to see more use cases, right? And of course more automations that you can build, because today's sharing is also a very limited time slot. Join our free executive masterclass, which is happening on the 24th of February. So right after Chinese New Year and before the March holidays. And our masterclass is actually led by our head of solutions consulting in Asia Pacific, and his name is actually Ken Ng. So he's very experienced, and he'll be leading this masterclass, and he'll be sharing more industry use cases, going deeper into the no-code automation movement, and how your organization can integrate and automate business workflows. So to sign up for our executive masterclass, you can scan the QR code here or go to this link, tinyurl.com/Workato masterclass 24 Feb. So yes, if you are keen, just scan this QR code or visit our Tiny URL page. And we had some great questions, right, on how you can get training in no-code automation and in using the Workato platform. So if you want to take things one step further and get yourself trained and certified in automation, do check out our Automation Institute at academy.workato.com. The link is also on the screen. And the good news is that all our courses here are free and accessible for everybody. Well, the most popular ones are actually Automation Pro 1 and Automation Pro 2, which you can see on the left here, where you will actually learn basic and advanced automation techniques. So I personally recommend that you start with these two courses first before moving on to the others. And if you're keen to dive deeper, you can actually check out more advanced courses in building your custom connectors, processing CSV files. Like if you have a lot of Excel files and you want to sync them up with different systems, I mean, definitely do check out that course. You can also check out recipe lifecycle management, like how to manage the lifecycle of your automations, and even working with databases. We do have a course on that for those who are a bit more IT inclined. And the good thing about all these courses is that they are free, and upon completion, you will get an e-certificate which you can add to your LinkedIn profile. So we have come to the end of today's session, and we hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed being here today with everybody. So to stay updated of our upcoming events, activities, and workshops, do scan the QR code here and fill in our short contact form. All details will just be used for dissemination of Workato's updates, activities, as well as events, and they will not be shared with any third party or like outside vendors or used for any other purposes besides publicity. Yep. So besides scanning this QR code, you can also go to this link, which is tinyurl.com/Workato Connect. Yep. So thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed this very short session, and we look forward to staying in touch. I'll be dropping some of these links into the chat as well.
Thanks very much, Gladys, for hosting the session, and also Randy, and patiently answering all the questions that we have. Very glad to have you guys today with us, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I'll give a few minutes for you guys to